for being here.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm super excited to have you
I'm
because
so excited.
I watched you on Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, you did?
I
Okay.
did.
Okay.
I was like, this guy is here to win.
Yeah.
He's so focused because usually people come in and there's like everyone's personality and there's
you get so much personality.
the ego and the
Yep.
I'm the best. And,
Right.
you were just like, and then out of nowhere it'd be like, Sakari. And I was like, watch out for him. He might not be talking.
I was locked in.
You were locked in.
I was locked in. Funny thing, I actually would do Tai Chi every morning.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
So you were meditating.
I had to.
You had to.
Because there was like so much going on, right? Like there was like so many different personalities. Like you're not sleeping. They leave the light on.
Yeah.
Until the last person goes to bed.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
So I had to sleep with like a do-rag or like a towel over my eyes because like the lights were always on it. So somebody could be smoking a cigarette at like 3 a.m.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
and it would
let's go to sleep.
Everyone sleep.
Yeah. I'm like, what? So I was always the first person up. It was me and Alex, always the first people up. And I would do Tai Chi because I read it in Kobe Bryant's book, Mamba Mentality.
Wow.
I have a Mamba Mentality tattoo right here for Kobe Bryant, and it's very fitting because we're in LA, which is very fun. But I love his philosophy, right? You know, like try to be better every single day. And I was reading his book. He was like, Phil Jackson, and if you're familiar with basketball a little bit, Phil Jackson like won a lot of rings.
Yeah.
Right? And so like he was speaking to that, what makes a champion. And he was saying that Tai Chi was able to make them very relaxed or calm in those moments when you have to win like the game-winning shot or like that game 7 or like that last, you know what I mean?
That moment. That
pressure.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if I'm in like the highest pressure setting, we need to do some Tai Chi. We need to do some Tai Chi. Yeah. So I was literally every day Tai Chi.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great experience though.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love that you brought up the pressure.
Yeah.
Because I think that for me as like a very jovial and enthusiastic home cook, the one thing I could never do professionally is cook. And it's because of the pressure. Because
you feel pressure.
I'm not a pressure girly. Like I know sometimes people are like, pressure makes diamonds. I'm like, or it just breaks you. And right. I'm team break.
Well, at home, you don't have to have that pressure.
You don't.
You know, that's what makes home cooking so much fun. It's a lot more approachable, right? Everyone can do it. You can involve kids if you have kids in there, right? That's why cookbooks are so fun. Like it can become an experience. It's a great date night. Like there's a lot of, and it's cheaper. It's more affordable than eating out. So like cooking at home doesn't have to have that pressure. You know, especially with social media, you can watch a TikTok and be like, let's make that tonight.
Try that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You can see the visuals of it. You're like, wow, this looks great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I love making content, you know, because I think it really helps people want to cook and want to bring them in and make it simple for people. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have that pressure.
What do you think the difference is? Because you're in the era of social media versus chefs who did not have that available. And I feel like it's changing what we have access to
100%.
As guests. What would you say the difference is between like how you're coming up and maybe like the options available to you than maybe like even 10 years ago?
Well, first of all, it's a great point. And I think a lot of chefs usually will go against the grain with that. They're like, this person's not a chef. This person is a social media chef or whatever the case is, right? But for me personally, I embrace it. Right? Because I was able to see it. I feel like I'm in the in-between era where I was able to see the rise of social media, but also the people that I looked up to because I loved cooking from a very young age. You know, my grandmother was playing Food Network in the kitchen, like all the time, you know? And so I was in the era where I was looking up to, you know, Bobby Flay's or the Guy Fieri's, like watching Food Network. So I saw that adaptation of like Martha Stewart and like that era. But then you go into the social media era, right? Where everyone can be a food critic.
Yeah.
You can go to any restaurant, you can have your phone, and instantly you can review food for someone else. And also, too, people are just cooking a lot more with social media, or you're seeing it a lot more, right? I think, personally, it makes cooking more approachable, I think, for everyone. You know what I mean? It makes it more accessible. And I love that. You know, I think food is in a place where from 10 years ago, it was a little bit more niche. Now I think everybody's a part of it. And if you think about the pillars of culture, it's fashion, right? It's like what we wear, right? It's music. What do we listen to? Of course, food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think food now, 10 years from before to now, because of social media, the explosion of social media, it's became more culturally relevant to everywhere. You know, like look at things like the bear.
Yeah.
And now people that never knew about food industry, like the niche before, now they're like, behind. You know what I mean? They're asking these questions and they're like, yes, chef. Like they're like into it. And so I think it's great for the industry.
Have you watched The Bear?
So I have watched The Bear.
Okay.
It's very, very, very traumatic for me.
I can't watch it for the same reason.
Really?
I can't watch it.
It's very traumatic for me. And funny story. So I used to work at 11 Madison Park, right?
Okay.
And so 11 Madison Park, for those people that don't know, was the number 1 restaurant in the world, and now they're vegan. It's 3 Michelin stars, right? It was like a dream come true for me to work there. The chef and the owner, one of the owners, actually help producing The Bear. And so they're behind the scenes working with the cast, right? Chef Lockwood's working with the cast, and then Will Guidara is actually like, that's why his book was like, he put his book into there. And so when I look at the production of The Bear, it's like extra nostalgic for me because they're paying attention to the things that we learned when I was coming up as a cook at 11 Madison Park. So it's like very, very real.
Yeah.
It's like very, very real. And I'm like, whoa.
It's a little too real.
Yeah, but I think it's so good for the industry. You know, I think staging, for example, is something that they highlighted, I believe, in like the 2nd season. And it's something that I've been doing as a series, and I've really been encouraging people to do. Like, work for free, right? At any age, no matter where you are in your career, and it's an investment in yourself. You know what I mean? And you can go there and you can learn, you can make connections, you get to taste great food. And so they highlighted that, I believe, in one of the first episodes, where you saw the main character going and staging at the best restaurants in the world, right? And you see him with Daniel Boulud or at Thomas Keller and all these things. And so I think that's great for the next generation. And I talk about it in my book as well, to really encourage people to stage, really encourage people to, like, don't look at the cents and the dollars, look at investing in yourself. You know? Yeah, I think it's important.
I love that you mentioned the folks who were around you bringing the food industry in the household, like your family. Who would you say are some of those key figures that really invested in your journey as a chef?
Obviously, the OG chefs, the grandmothers. You know what I mean? I think grandmas have an unfair cheat code. I feel like they've already had child, so they kind of like got it right already. You know, they like learned from their first child, and they're like, okay, your grandkids, like we're gonna do everything that we like messed up on or did. You know what I mean? So like that's why we love grandmas, right? For me, my grandmother was always cooking in the kitchen, right? There was very like early times of like us making like churning ice cream, like very fresh ice cream. My great grandmother, Mother Bell, who's 101 years old.
Wow.
She's still living.
Oh my gosh.
God, like, which is incredible.
Wow.
North Carolina. So every summer we had to go to North Carolina. And so I have memories going down there, driving, right, passing the cotton fields, going to this little, you know, it was like antenna, you know, cable. We would watch only a few channels. We didn't have much to do. So the only thing we could do really is be on the farm and eat.
Sounds great.
Right, but as a kid, it's not great.
Right.
You're like, this is boring.
I need Wi-Fi.
I need my friends. I miss my friends at home. Like, you know, I want to be on summer vacation. Why am I here right now?
Right.
But it gave me a sense of appreciation for that. Fresh foods, fresh products, right? Which is why I'm so excited about the farmers market, right? It's just tastes and it just appreciates everything so much more.
Yeah.
And so when I was a kid, they used to close the door, okay? And you would smell, it would perfume the entire house with red sausage, which was it's like a chicken and pork sausage that's really well known in North Carolina. Delicious. And then we do something what's called breakfast rice. So people actually think of grits, right? It's like Southern cooking. We used to take the leftover rice that you had from the night before, you add a little bit of water, you cook that down. It's like our version of risotto.
Ooh.
Yes. It's like our version of risotto. And so what you do is you cook that thing down, add a little bit more, keep adding, and you get this creamy deliciousness that like is basically neutral in flavor, but it absorbs everything that you got. So you got your eggs in there, you got your sausage in there, and like that would be our breakfast. You know what I mean? And this was so new to me, so I'm like, this is so good. I'm like, you know what I mean? People are saying good morning, and I remember my great grandmother would always yell at me. Well, she was always yelling, but she would yell at me because you have to be dressed at the dinner table or the breakfast table. You have to. So like when we were in New York, you roll out of bed hey guys, I'll come in my PJs or I'll come in my underwear. Like, all right, I'm gonna eat breakfast. Boy, go get dressed. So it was like this new sense of culture. Like everybody has to sit down. There was no phones. Like we didn't, back then it was like no phones, no social media, no TV. The dinner table, the breakfast table, that's where we connected. That's where it was a special feeling and moment in our lives. And so you don't appreciate those things till you get older.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think grandmothers, my mom had a huge influence on me. But if you ever see a red button, right, and it says do not push, you're going to push that thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so my mom would always tell me, like, don't cook. She'd be like, because she came from a loving standpoint of, like, you're going to cut yourself.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You're going to hurt yourself in the kitchen. You're going to burn yourself. My grandmother was a little bit more open to it. She was like, no, let's cook breakfast. Let's do cookies. Let's do desserts. Like, you know what I mean? And so I'm cooking with my grandmother a lot. My mom is like, stop all that cooking. But it actually gives you the reverse because you're like, I'm going to cook.
Now I want to.
Now you want to, right? Versus like if you tell somebody to do something, it's kind of boring. But if you're like, don't do it, you're like,
now it's interesting.
It's more interesting.
Now
it's more
curious.
Mysterious, right? The door is always being closed. You're like, it's a different. You're like, ooh, I want to cook. I even remember as a kid, when they used to take me like Macy's or the J.C. Penney's, I was always attracted to like the shiny gadgets in the kitchen aisles. As like when I was like a little kid, I was like, I wouldn't go to like the little toy sections as much. I would look at. I'm like, ooh, like it just looks so shiny.
Yeah.
As like a little kid, I'm like, ooh, what's this? And I always wanted an easy bake oven.
Me too.
Really?
I had one, and imagine my surprise when it was a brownie. I was like, this isn't a cake.
That's so funny.
This is a dense brownie. And mind you, I'm like cutting into it like, where's the air? Where's the fluff? I'm very
like, what's going on here, right? Yeah. I was just always fascinated by that type of stuff. Yeah. It was just in me. It just was part of me.
So with your cookbook.
Yes.
The thing that drew me to that the most was the fact that you wanted to self-publish.
Yes.
And so that you could give back to the community.
100%.
Where did that sense of like responsibility come from?
So, 3.5 years ago, my father passed away. And he used to have a restaurant, and he's been a big inspiration on my journey. He was vegetarian, and he didn't drink, he didn't smoke. But he had diabetes, right? And so he ate a lot of processed foods. And so after his passing, I found like this bin, and it had all these articles, all these books about healthy eating, and like, because he had to change his whole life up when he became diabetic. And so it wasn't until that moment where I was like, food is medicine, right? Had no clue, idea, did not put the two together. When I ate, when I grew up eating, it was about deliciousness. It was about your eating for your palate. When you ate, you would go to sleep after. It was part of the culture almost. Like, we're gonna eat all this delicious food.
And we're gonna nap.
And we're gonna nap.
Yeah.
We're gonna have this amazing meal with all our families, and then everybody's gonna nap, and then you're gonna heat up leftovers, and like that was the vibe. It wasn't until I had vegan food one time and I felt so good and clean, and I'm like, whoa, this is a different feeling. So when I read those articles, when I was like going through and like really understanding my past, understanding my childhood, trying to understand what God was trying to teach me, because I really believe in faith, I was like, I think this is my purpose, And for me, I think as a chef, we get taught how to cook delicious food, right? Like, that's part of what we do. And so I was like, well, if I can cook delicious food and make it healthy, I'm like, we could do something fun here. And so I was like, well, where do we start with that? And I think the next generation, the kids, right? I think if we can teach kids how to make cooking approachable, more easy, more fun, teach them about it's more affordable, right? Than if you're going out to eat. It doesn't have to be a thing where you have to go to McDonald's and get something really quick. There's accessible options. And if we can teach those tactics early on, right? When you're 10, 11, 12, 13, kind of like how I grew up and I was learning these different things, we can affect the next generation. We can affect years to come, way past me. And so a big part of this journey for me was about giving back to schools and figuring out how we can make healthy school lunches, more accessible. So that's why we partner up with Food Corp. I think they're doing an amazing job. It's an amazing nonprofit. They're national all over. And with them, so for every book sold, for every book that we sell, we're going to donate basically a nutritious meal per kid.
Wow.
And for me, that's really important because I think the most accessible way for a lot of people of all, incomes or all areas is the school lunch system.
Yeah.
Right? You get introduced to French fries, our chicken nuggets, all the processed foods, right? So if we can introduce healthy foods, you can start to train the palate a little bit and be like, wow, I'm having this organic squash for lunch. Ooh, and then if you're having that at lunch, and this is the first, for some people, this is the only meal they're having.
For the day.
For the day.
Right.
And so let's make it nutritious, let's make it delicious, right? And now you're teaching the kids and you're showing them and opening their minds up to more than just chicken nuggets and French fries.
Right.
So that's why it was important for me.
I say that because I was definitely a chicken nugget and French fry kid.
Me too. Yeah. You're a chicken nugget girly?
Religiously.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even eat, like, the burgers and all the other things.
Right.
I was just, like, nuggets only.
Yeah.
And if I do eat fast food, like, it doesn't happen often, but when I do, I just want a 10-piece nugget.
That's so fun.
And so I hear you when you say that because it wasn't until I was, like, 19, 20
okay.
working in restaurants where I was
Mm-hmm.
like, there are other things,
right?
And my palate
starts
expanded,
opening up. Mm-hmm.
And once you go there, you can't really
you can't go back, right?
I also realized that the flavors that I was enjoying or not enjoying, it wasn't cooked properly. Like, it wasn't seasonal. So there were just a lot of things that I thought, well, I just don't like those things.
Right.
But it wasn't cooked properly. It wasn't cooked
properly. Yeah, exactly. That's why as a chef, you have to, I always ask people, like, what do you like? What don't you like? And things like that. And then you can prepare it in a different way. And then you can really enjoy it and see, like, people's reactions and things like that. But I remember as a kid, like, chicken patty Thursdays and pizza Fridays. And, like,
pizza Fridays was worldwide.
Right? Like, it was a vibe. So if we could introduce, fresh ingredients and fresh products and vegetables and all these things and make it fun and make it approachable and educate and it's going back to that red button analogy, right? It's not about saying what you can't eat.
Right.
Because people can eat what they want to eat.
It's showing how much is really available.
Yeah. It's not saying don't eat this, don't eat that. It's balance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's what I really want to accomplish with this book, and I think the book could help do that. And then inside the book, we've covered really great interviews with amazing chefs, and I think for me, it was really important to create a blueprint for the next generation, for people that love food that's coming up, because going back to social media, it's so much more wide known and so much more approachable and all these things. So I think as you look at like streamers or rappers or things, people want to come up and like cook food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so this is the blueprint for that. This is the guide for that. It's talking about seasonality of cooking. It's giving you healthy ways and approachable ways to cook, how to cook, sharing some of the stories, sharing some of the things that I went through when I cooked growing up as a kid. So that way you can connect yourself to that and be like, well, what did my grandma make when I was a kid? It doesn't have to be the curry chicken or the curry goat that I had. It could be a sancocho if you're from the Dominican Republic. It could be something that you connected with. And so you could read these stories and input yourself in there and figure out, okay, I'm loving food. I'm having food, and have the confidence to fully go in there.
It's interesting that you brought in the curry because for me, like, food is so closely tied to identity.
Yep.
And similarly, I was not super encouraged to cook. It was like, you can make yourself breakfast or lunch or whatever, but don't touch curry goat now. It's for grown folks. Like,
okay.
And I was like, okay, so I missed out on learning some of those things. So I had to go to YouTube to learn how to cook some of those key Jamaican things, like curry goat, oxtail, stew peas.
Yeah.
And so imagine my parents' surprise when I'm like, guess what we're having for dinner, everybody?
Oh my goodness.
Curried goat. And they're like, well, we didn't teach that.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
And so it's this like do or die moment. It's very serious.
Yeah, it's
very
super serious. The way that I got introduced to curry goat was from my grandmother. So my grandmother had a farm, like farm. They had like lamb and they had goats and all these things. And so they would have that fresh goat, right? And they would bring it over. So now I'm eating, but she's telling me it's chicken. Like, what? So I'm like, I'm eating this. I'm like, this is the best chicken. She's like, Grandma, you like that, Sakari? I'm like, Grandma.
Because if she told you, would you have eaten it?
No.
No way.
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. So I'm eating. I'm like, Grandma, that's the best curry chicken I've ever had. Oh, yeah? It's goat. She said, I said, what? You mean the goat down the road that you, like, was
we
like...
were boys.
Like,
we were friends.
You know what I mean? I'm like, this is crazy, but it was so delicious.
Yeah.
It was just a different texture, and it opens you up. You know, like those experiences are so important because now you want to get a little bit more adventurous.
Yeah.
You know, now you want to learn more. Now you want to taste different things. And you know, you have to travel. I always tell young cooks, you have to go travel. You have to be adventurous. You have to try new things. That's what's going to open up your mind to the world because the world is so big.
It is so big.
Of course.
And it just opens up your perspective on what's even possible.
Yep.
Especially with like the healthy wave that we went over. I feel like once Forks Over Knives came out, there was this huge shift of like plant-based. And then it shifted away from diasporic cooking a little bit. And it almost made us feel like, or at least I can speak for myself, made me feel like my culture's food was like inherently unhealthy. But then when I looked at the actual ingredients, I was like, no, ginger is amazing. Turmeric is amazing. Like seasonings and spices and chilies, that's amazing. So I was like, okay, if I get away from Goya's line of seasoning, and I just use salt, just use pepper, just use spices, and infuse those flavors with fresh herbs, I can have all those amazing flavors
100%.
and get all the nutrition also. And then the thing that I did that my family finds very controversial is I integrate a lot of raw food into my curry. So I'll do like curry chicken, curry goat, and then I'll do like a fresh cucumber salad and just put it right on top.
Right on top.
Yeah, with like lime juice or something.
I like to add, so I do a curry chickpea because I feel like there's a lot of vegans now, there's a lot of vegetarians, right? But you still get that deliciousness that you're absorbing from like curry. It's great with like, if you do doubles, right? Obviously, it's great with doubles. Love doubles, right? Delicious. Yeah. But I throw in actually a little bit of raw arugula at the end. Arugula is so great and nutritious.
And you
get
that
has like
spice.
That bitterness. You have a little spice, that bitterness in there, right? And then you have like the deliciousness, that creamy chickpea that's been cooking for hours and stewing and stuff. And so for me, I love incorporating raw ingredients because that's the nutrition that you need.
Yeah.
You know, when you cook it out, sometimes you lose all that. You know what I mean? One of my favorite things actually is actually like the pot liquor. Have you ever drank pot liquor?
It's been a long time.
It's all the nutrients, right? Yeah. For people that don't know, it's all the nutrients of those greens, those collard greens that's cooking for hours and hours and hours, right? A lot of times when you cook food, it's losing that nutrients, right? That's why incorporating raw ingredients is so important. But that liquid gold at the bottom, right? You just pour that over and you just drink that as a broth, as a tea in the morning. It's so nutritious for you. And it's delicious.
It's amazing.
It's so
good.
And
it's like concentrated.
And people throw it away.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is crazy.
We were talking about the curry goats, but I kind of wanted to pivot and talk about your process as a chef and how you put meals together. I was talking to a friend who also binge watches cooking shows, and she was like, how do they come up with ideas so fast?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, they're professional. And I feel like that wasn't a good enough answer. So talk me through what it's like to be in a situation where you're like, I've got to think of something. I got to think of something right now. And how does it all come together?
So, you know, that's happened a lot in like Chopped, when I was on Chopped and like House Kitchen, right? They just give you these ingredients and you're like, figure it out.
Yeah.
For me, where my mind goes, I think is like I said, my grandmother had Food Network, right? Like just playing in the background. And so I remember watching shows like Guy Fieri's show or Bobby Flay and seeing them do these different ingredients and seeing these different things. And so for me, when I was cooking as a young kid, I was just making what's inside the house.
Yeah.
I was like figuring it out. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, today we got cheese,
canned beef,
zucchini, canned beef, and a cup of noodles. What are we gonna make today? You know what I mean? Because like when you're cooking, usually it's from a necessity.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm hungry. What are we gonna make? And then in different households, you have different things. Different days, you have different things, right? And so, we have this leftover rice, and we got these eggs here. Maybe we can make some fried rice. You know what I mean? So for me, what my mind goes is, I love fresh ingredients. Like I love the farmer's market, right? And so I feel like it just starts to speak to you. You start to have these memories of a time that you enjoyed these ingredients, right? That's why it's so important for young cooks to go out and eat different food.
And create those memories.
Create those food memories for yourself. So it ties into like, I remember I had this squash with a curry that was so delicious. That was a Thai curry. And they put this squash in there and it had crab and it had vegetables and da-da-da-da. Today I'm going to be making this.
Right.
So for me, I cook from a place of memories, right? Things that I've eaten, things that I've made 100,000 times. So when I go into these high pressure moments, right, like a Chopped, like a Hell's Kitchen, I'm working all of my memory. I'm like, okay, we got this lobster here. Okay, we got these oysters. We got tomatoes. I remember making a beautiful, delicious, like brodo, like Italian tomato broth soup. Let's make a seafood tomato soup. Let's get a crostini. Let's dip that crostini in there. Like enjoy that. So I'm really working for my food memories. That's how I think about the process. But for anyone listening, I think one of my favorite books is the Food Bible. Have you ever read the Food Bible? Are you familiar?
No. Is it connected to the Wine Bible?
No, it's kind of like similar. It's interesting, but for me, I love the Wine Library as well. Food Bible is basically it gives you an array of ingredients and it tells you what flavors go well with what. And it will show in capitalization in bold. Lobster, butter.
Done.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is the jam, right?
Yeah.
Old Bay. Like like flavor time. So for young cooks or new cooks or people cooking at home, you take the Flavor Bible, you see what ingredients you have, you go to this book, you use it as an encyclopedia, and you go and say, oh, this is gonna go out, this is gonna go well here, boom, boom, and then you can start to create your idea. So it's one of the most used books in my kitchen whenever I'm cooking, like the Food Bible, 100%.
I love that you're saying go out and create memories.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that quote that circulates that Beyonce says a lot, where she's like, I can't just be on tour all the time. I have to live my life and create memories. And it's interesting because people always use that audio while they're at her concert. So it's like so it's like she's working. I'm like, that's not her memory, that's your memory.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you're saying that's what pulls it all in for you. It's like go out and almost create these somatic experiences.
Yeah.
Because like your body always remembers, and then when you're in that moment of like, I see the cucumber, I see the chicken, I see this, I see that, it's like, oh, we're instantly transported.
I think like personally as a chef, every chef is different, but I cook from a place of like, what do I want to eat? You know what I mean? And I tailor it for people, of course, like if someone doesn't like spice or someone likes certain ingredients, but like when I'm making a plate of food, I'm like, I want to eat that. You know what I mean? And I remember having this experience in Italy, a wine experience actually, where the moment we got in his vineyard, he said, listen, I make wine for myself. And if you like it, cool. If you don't like it, cool.
Right.
But I'm making this from, and it's so much more personable. It's coming from the heart. And so you're going to get that same experience. And I really resonate with that because that's how I cook.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you have to be selfish to be selfless.
That's almost like an artist perspective.
Yeah.
It's like just create what you want to create and they'll eat it how they want to eat it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're sharing a moment together.
Yeah.
You know, it's magic.
I wanted to ask you too about just in general what ingredients you feel like informs your flavor. I feel like I keep going back to the same, not in a bad way, but I have some core flavors that I always cook with, and it's maybe if you didn't know me, you'd be like, oh, this is like what Neysa would make. Gotcha. What would you say are the core flavors that maybe is always showing up in your food?
I would say balance. I think, one of my first mentors, his philosophy was like, let the food speak. And he was one of the first people to really, Chef Mark Anthony Bynum. He's like won Chopped like 3 times on the Food Network and things. And he was from Long Island. He was a black chef from Long Island. We really resonated with that. He like took me under his wing. And he cooked with balance.
What does that mean?
Chef Jared Gabel, Berea, 2 Michelin stars, he cooked with balance. A lot of chefs that I've worked with cooked with balance. So what that means is when you have a bite, when you're composing a dish, you want sweet, salty, acidic, a little bit of spice, something refreshing. You want all those things, all those flavors in one bite. And when you compose the dish, you want to compose a dish where you don't have your potatoes over here and your broccoli over here and your beef over here. You want to kind of like intertwine all the two, where when that person digs in, they're able to get a piece of every single bite. And so when they enjoy that, they're having an explosion, they're having an experience through the palate. So whenever I cook, I'm thinking about a little bit of spice, I'm thinking about a little bit of sweetness. I'm thinking about the savoriness, the saltiness, right? And when I discovered umami, I was like, umami, this is crazy. Like, umami, this is amazing, right? Oh, this is insane. So I think of how can I incorporate umami ingredients, right? Like it's that undiscovered, like that next level of flavor, that next like ingredient. And so I think of like how can I incorporate ketchup or like Parmesan cheese or like soy. Or, like how can I create a Maillard reaction with the beef, right? To get that caramelization. How can I caramelize things? How can I bring the natural sugar from these things, right? If I'm cooking onions, can we roast these and get like that natural char from them? So for me, I'm thinking about how can I get all these different flavors to work together in one bite. And then you have it, you're like, oh, this is fire. Like, whoa, what is this? That's what you're looking for. You know what I mean? So like, I don't make something that's too sweet. I try not to. Yeah. Or just sweet, If it has to have that balance, even with desserts. The depth. Yeah. Layers of flavor, right? You have a broth that's been cooking for hours and hours and hours. But like, if you have something so refreshing, or so like depth, like deeper flavor, maybe you need something to add like a refreshing. Maybe you need a little bit of lime. Maybe you need like some fresh raw vegetables in there to add that freshness to that deep, rich broth that you've been enjoying. Right. So like, you have to think about like all these classic dishes, like a potato and ketchup, right? You get that acidic, you get that umami, and then you get like this salty French fry. And so you dip it in there, you're like, whoa.
Now it's an experience.
It's an experience. So I think of that, like balance.
When I think about your perspective, being a Black chef, having the connection with the Latin community, and I'm noticing, I don't want to call it a rise, because I think as soon as two chefs pop up, we're like, it's a rise. I'm like, it's not a rise yet.
We've been here, right?
Okay, we need more, you know.
Right.
And I think about diasporic cooking, Caribbean, West African, anything Black, African American, Southern, West Coast, like literally anything Black people are doing. I've even seen indigenous Black folks from Australia. The seafood over there is crazy. Wow. And I have this like really, maybe it's not so bold opinion, might be bold to some, that you're not really classically trained unless you understand diasporic cuisine.
I couldn't agree more. And that's why it was really important for me after I worked in all these like, fancy restaurants, right? Like a Michelin star or like an Italian or a French brigade. I said to myself, as I was leaving 11 Master Park, which at the time was the #1 restaurant in the world, I was like, I need to learn my roots.
Right.
I need to learn my culture. I need to learn who Patrick Clark is. I need to learn who Thomas Hemmings is, right? I need to learn who Jessica B. Harris is, Edna Lewis, right? All these staples in the culture of food, and it comes to African American. And so I did a Black Chef's food tour when I was like 23, 24, something like that. I literally went around and like styles with Kwame, right? In DC, I drove all the way down there, and I went in to become a cook, and he offered me a sous chef position.
Wow.
Which was crazy.
That is crazy.
And Kwame, I always tell Kwame this, he was one of the first people to really recognize my talent.
Really?
Because I didn't recognize it for myself, in a sense. I was going in there as like, I'm just going to cook. And he was like, no,
you're on a different level.
You're a chef.
Wow.
And so I remember doing a tasting for him. You know what I mean? And he's enjoying this food, and he's like seeing me and watching me in the kitchen and all these things. And so he's been great. I remember staging with Eduardo Jordan in Seattle, and I remember like seeing what Nina was doing in New Orleans. And then I remember coming back to New York and like spent some time with Chef JJ, Joseph Johnson. And that's where I met one of my mentors, Omar Tate, where this was before he opened up his concept, Honeysuckle, and he's doing great things and things like that. But he took me under his wing, because I told him, I was like, my dream is noble promise, So my name Sakari in Swahili, it means noble promise, which means you have a promise in the future and you keep to your word, right? That's why I have this hat and all these things. And so for me, that's been a driving force throughout my career. It's like, I'm going to keep to my word. I'm going to like cook with intention, right? And I just know that there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I just know that I have a promising future. I'm going to keep my promises. I'm going to execute, And so I was telling him about this, and we resonated over his concept with Honeysuckle, my concept with Noble Promise, and he started educating me everything I need to know about African American cooking. And I remember doing like pop-ups with him, his first pop-ups, and like seeing this entire thing. How did he storytell? What was he cooking? Why was he cooking what he was cooking? And it really became a big influence on how I look at my philosophy of cooking, and I fell in love even more with the diaspora. You know, because it was hard back then, back in the day, where it wasn't that many African American chefs that were doing great things. It was like a handful.
They weren't even allowed to do great things.
Right?
It was like, we want you over here.
It was like,
we don't
want you to do French food.
to do anything else.
Yeah, it was like, we want you to do French food or the norm. And so when people like JJ came out or Kwame came out and doing these, they're like, what's this?
Right.
They're like, oxtail in a restaurant?
They hate to see us coming.
Like, it's like, what? Like, oxtails hate to see me coming. I'm not gonna lie. Oxtails hate to see me coming. But I think it's beautiful now. You know, I'm so excited that there's chefs like, you know, Chef Eric Williams in Chicago, and like, you know, you had the OG like Alexander Smalls, right back in the day, where he created like the first black fine dining restaurant.
Right.
You know what I mean? But now you're seeing like all these different diaspora examples. And so for me, it makes me excited to be a part of that conversation, because I'm so invested and so passionate about cooking that style of food, because it's just true to myself.
I love that you talked about Chef Kwame highlighting your talent.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as Black folks, we're always saying, if I get more educated, if I get more skilled, if I get this other
when
thing,
I'm ready,
when I'm ready, and when I'm deemed ready by someone who is esteemed, then I'll be a sous chef.
Yeah.
And I love that he gave you permission to step up.
Yeah.
Because I think for most of us, if we're even in the room, we've already done so much more than our peers.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just time to execute.
Yep.
Sometimes it's not a mindset or a belief issue or a readiness issue. Sometimes it's an opportunity issue and a permission thing.
And a confidence thing.
Yeah.
You know, because I think like you are allowed to dream big.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that comes a lot with, for me, I think that comes a lot with like being an owner, a chef owner versus just a chef. When you're a chef owner or you're an entrepreneur, it's like this new unlock, right? When you look at people like Mark Zuckerberg or the Elon Musk or people that are innovators of this time, they've never done this before.
No. Mark
Zuckerberg didn't go to school to learn how to create a social media app.
He left school to create social media.
You know what I mean? And so like no one's gonna tell you or teach you how to innovate or do different things.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. And what I saw at a young age working around with owners was like they're just figuring it out too. And so once you realize and you see that enough of like even a chef that's been a chef for 30 years has to reset and do their own thing.
Yeah.
They have to go and do pop-ups and create their restaurant concept. And they're just figuring it out.
And build their brand and build their following.
All
and
the
of
things.
That.
They're all figuring it out. So I was like, if he's figuring it out,
I can figure it out.
I can figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, why not just figure it out now so I can get that experience versus let me train. I think you have to train more.
You do.
I think it's a balance of two.
Yeah.
Don't come out of culinary school and say, hey, I'm going to go figure it out, which is great. You can.
Although people do that.
People do that.
Yeah.
Which is great. I had a little bit different experience. I put my head down for 10 years.
Yeah.
And like Gordon and other amazing chefs all recommend that. You know, like put in the work first. Put your head down, learn, adapt, get connected, get to know people, create relationships, learn, you know, then figure it out.
But that is the building process too.
Yeah.
Because when I think of, I think of us as like trees, like our ideas.
Yep.
And the learning and the putting your head down stage is like we're getting the roots.
Right.
And before there's anything budding above the surface, the roots are like doing what they do. Like sometimes when I'm walking my dog, I'll just look on the ground and just look at trees' roots of what I can only see. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this one tree that was like artificially planted here is already communicating with this entire block.
Yeah.
And that's just what I can see.
Yeah.
And so there's so much when I think about, I have to remind myself this of like, my gains are mostly invisible. Most times, like people,
that's so interesting.
they don't know how I'm growing or how I'm better or what I've learned. And they won't see until I have like a little bitty flower that popped through the concrete and they'll be like, oh, look what you have, a little flower. Huh. And then they wonder why they're not getting the flower. And I'm like, well, the tea is.
Yeah.
You know, what was going on underneath.
I love that analogy.
And everything. And that's why I don't really I can say I don't compare myself that much. I'm not concerned about like idea theft and things like that, because I'm like, you could copy the thing that was the little result, but you cannot copy the process.
How did you get there? Because I've got there.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's an unlock. It's been an unlock for me. Gratitude, not comparison, no validation. Focus on the roots.
Yeah.
Like you talked about. Build that foundation. Right? How did you get there?
I think I got here because my objective was so different. Like, I didn't have this, like, I want to be a photographer, I want to be an artiste. I didn't come with that. I had this whole other career back when I was in the tech industry.
Okay.
And I was like, businesses need things. How can I give businesses what they need?
Okay.
And then in the process, I was like, well, I have something to say. I think I want to create content. And that's what we're doing here. And then when I would get into a room with other photographers, I saw that they were so focused on their own stuff. Like, they were so focused on my gear and my skill and my perspective. And I was like, your perspective? They're paying me. How do I serve them?
Okay.
How do I align with them?
Be a service,
so I was always coming at it as being of service. And I invested so much in coaching. I'm not even gonna like the books, read them. The coaches, the good ones, the bad ones, I hired them. Like, my friends that give free advice, I implemented that advice. And after a while, the results of that, whether internal or external, it just speaks for themselves, even 100%. If it's just speaking to you.
Yeah.
And there's just this knowing. Like, I don't go for confidence because confidence for me is very fleeting, but knowing, can't anybody take that away from you. Like, when I think about the things that I understand, and I'm like, if no one believed me, I would never not believe that. Like, if all of a sudden, like, Jamaica was just like under the ocean and no one believed the island ever exists, I will always know, well, Jamaica was a place and it existed. Like, you couldn't convince me otherwise. And I feel like what I have to offer is that way. It's like that. I know what I went through. I know what it took to get here.
Yeah.
And you can't convince me otherwise.
You can't change that. Yeah. It's
Plus, you surround yourself, at least I do. You're doing the stages, you're working for free. I do something similar. I'm always like collaborating with other creatives, learning from other people. And I don't care if they think that I'm better or if they think that they're better. It literally doesn't bother me because I'm like, my business is doing what it's doing. And I need it to do a thing and you need it to do a thing, but I don't know anything about your business. And when I get around millionaires, I'm always like shocked by what they don't know.
Yeah.
I'm always shocked by the things that they're still dealing with.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, what's the opposite of humbling? But it doesn't like boost me, but it's like, oh, we're not that far apart.
We're not different.
We're not
all
different.
Human beings.
We're all human beings. Like, you're boring sometimes. I'm boring sometimes. Like, you don't know stuff. I don't know stuff. You just have this money.
Yeah.
That's literally maybe there's like a couple of introductions away, a couple of aha moments away.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's things that I know that you don't know. There's things that you know that I don't know.
We're the same.
And so that will clarify a lot.
Wow.
Versus when you don't know and you're just over here like, wow, they live in that house and they have all these things. You don't know they're fretting to pay that mortgage.
Right.
Like, you don't even,
their lifestyle's more expensive.
You have no idea.
Humans.
You know, or certain connections that they might have, or maybe they did work for it and you weren't there for those 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, who knows? And so I think I know what I have. I know where I'm going. And that's enough for me.
I love that.
So
I think that's something that resonated with me was the knowing part.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what's connected with you. For me, it's always been like the reps.
Yeah.
Like, when I put in the reps, I feel confident. Like, if you're putting up 1,000 shots, I feel confident going into my game 7.
Yeah.
In basketball terms. But like, for you, and I think for the viewer, it's so important that they get to that place.
Yeah.
To find something that they connect to find that confidence and not need the outside validation from the world to do it for you. Because you get just in such a happier place. Everything becomes so much easier.
And you know what I noticed too? When you're an initiator, and I'm very much so like an initiator, like I'll do the thing. People will just join in. so many people, like, they can't get started.
Right.
But if you're like, I've already created a thing.
I'm doing this. Come join the ride.
All I need you to do is get in.
Yeah.
It's
come
like,
in the car.
Yeah, we're going shopping.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people want to go shopping.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people are pulling up with the car.
Right.
And so when I realized that, I was like, oh my God. Well, shit. And that's how I get in touch with people who are much further along in their media journey or their influence.
They've been there.
You know?
They've all been there.
And they want the value. They're like, I'm not going to sit here and do this whole thing that you're doing. You've already done that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the value to me. So once I realized that, I was like,
it's the journey.
Okay, let's go.
That's why the book is called Savor Your Journey.
Yeah.
Because you have to enjoy that journey. People that are further along in whatever industry, whether it's media, whether it's sports, whether it's cooking, they've been there. Right? And it's their journey. It's our journey. You have to enjoy that process that you're going through.
When I think about your world and the world that you're building as a chef, as an entrepreneur, tell me about the fully realized version of that world as you see it. Is it a restaurant? Is it a global brand? Where do you see this spider web opening up to?
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, I really want to leave an impact. I really want to make the world a bit better, you know? So, like, whenever my time is, God willing, I'll be like 120, you know?
It's looking good so far.
You know, like, that's why we got to figure out what we eat, you know what I'm saying? But for me, when I look back at, like, my work that I've done, I want to say that I left this is my dad's handwriting that I got after he passed. And it's like legacy. I want to leave a legacy, which is why things like books are important. Having a brand is important. So, like, I want to look back and be like, I left this world a bit better. And I think that happens through sustainability. I think that happens through education. Food is the equalizer, right? Everybody has to eat.
Everybody.
Every single day.
There's no way around it.
There's no way around it. It's a necessity. It's an equalizer. It's the one thing that brings us all together. And so for me, when I look back at my work from years to come, I want to be able to say that I did something great. And so I think a restaurant's important. I think having a place where people can come and enjoy your experience is 100% important. Right now, part of the journey has been like creating products. I love kitchen shears. It's like my number one right hand besides a kitchen knife in the kitchen. You know, my mom grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and so like we eat crabs, and so we always would crack the crabs, and you had to learn how to crack the crab in a certain part to get that beautiful piece of like the snow crab out. But you can just use your kitchen shears. You can cut right in, and now it's an equalizer for everyone. It's something that's durable. It's versatile. So we've been developing our own kitchen shears. Obviously, we have the book coming. I love spice mixes, something that makes deliciousness easy for everyone, right? Like you don't have to measure out all these ingredients. We've already did that for you. We know that this is delicious. Add it on anything you want, and now you have like a flavor booster, flavor enhancer. So I love spice mixes. We have a pancake mix coming out as well. Pancake, there's a huge Dutch influence, and I spent some time in the Netherlands. I lived out there for about a year. So like pancakes are something that was part of my childhood, part of my journey as a chef. And so creating a product like a pancake mix where anybody can just make delicious pancakes that's also nutritious, it's gluten-free. We use buckwheat, we use tapioca flour. There's actually no sugar inside of the mix itself. You can actually add your own sugar that you would like to it. And so for me, just keeping that brand ethos of like nutritious and delicious.
Yeah.
And just touching people through media, through content. I look at what Martha Stewart has done, and I met her a couple months ago, and we were speaking, and she was just referring to the importance of inspiration and information. That's been her secret sauce, right? And so for me, when I think about that, I'm like, how can we inspire, but how can we inform?
Right.
How can we bring value? How can we be of service?
Yeah.
And so for me, I just look at like continuing being of service. Thomas Keller, who's like arguably one of the greatest American chefs of all time, he opened his restaurant when he was 40.
Ain't no rush.
Ain't no rush.
Right.
I think Jay-Z said it with like, things happen for you, not to you. Right? And so embracing the journey, figuring those things out, you have to understand that you have no control over these things. As much as you want to have a goal or your whiteboard or your spider web, you really don't have that much control. Tomorrow could happen and it could be all over.
Right.
So there's this bliss that Will Smith even talks about of like letting go and letting the journey kind of happen. And whatever is happening for your better. So when a restaurant comes, it's going to happen at the right time. When the products come, it's going to happen at the right time. When the content goes to the place that you want it to go, it's going to happen at the right time. But for me, I just want to inspire people, different shows, restaurants, food, demonstrations, world domination. You know?
Take over.
You know what I mean? And just education. Inspire the next generation. I was so blessed to have amazing culinary arts professors who I still talk to this day.
That's amazing.
That believed in me and really wanted the best for me. And was like, don't go to this other culinary school. We're going to take care of you right here.
Right.
And that's what led me to become like student chef of the year and win a gold medal with Team USA when I was like 21 years old. Wow. I'm in Costa Rica and like going against France and like all these other countries and things like that. It was people believing in me and seeing it and taking me under wing. That's why mentorship is so important. Learning, you can always learn. So it never stops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the hamster wheel. It's going to keep going. So just enjoy it.
Is there anything that you want to do that you doubt that you can do?
That's a great question. That's an amazing question. To be honest with you, I really believe in myself. I wish I could like say something that I doubt. I really believe in my heart that I can do anything I put my mind to. Because I've seen it happen so many times. So like,
you already have the proof.
Yeah, like once you get that social proof of like, I've done this already, and you see like I think manifestation is amazing.
Yeah.
You have to like life is manifestation. You have to manifest what you want, and that comes from a place of confidence and goals and all these things. And so I think if you can see it happening, I think you can achieve it. You know, so I really don't have doubt. I do have fear. I think we're human.
Yeah.
So we're like scared at times, or we're like, this might not work out. But that's not. I don't look at that as like doubt. Like it comes from like a positive standpoint of like, if this doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to work out. So I'm not doubting that. I'm like trusting.
Yeah.
I don't doubt. I trust the universe that it's supposed to, happen the way it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But no, like, I don't really doubt. I think it's gonna happen the way it's supposed to happen. Trust.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you for being here.
This has been incredible.
Yes, I'm so glad we're here. I won't reveal too much, but between you and I'm glad we're here in this baseball field. This is perfect.
100%.
No ooglers.
But like, this is going back to what we were just talking about, right? We had plans, right?
And we had to pivot. Yeah.
The journey. It's life, right? And this worked out way better. It's quiet. Yeah. It's a beautiful day. We're sitting down.
You can't beat sitting down. That's how you know we're in our millennial age. Yeah. We get to sit. Okay, I'm there. Sit.
Amazing. So this has happened for us.
Yeah.
Not to us.
Amazing.
Amazing.